Did you know that 90% of the world's needles were produced in Redditch in Worcestershire right up until the 20th century? No, me neither. Let's go and find out more about it in today's video. Hello! Welcome to Through Lucy's Lens, weekly videos where I go somewhere interesting and hopefully you will find them interesting too. You're going to find a mix of historical houses, museums and places to go. I never know where I'm going to go every week either, but hopefully it will always give you some good ideas of places you can visit yourself, or if you're like me and just really nosy, you can just come along with me. The place I am visiting today I did not know about until 3 days ago. I was watching a programme in the UK called Antiques Road Trip, and antiques dealers go around the UK and they find interesting things to buy and sell. And this place came up and I was like, huh? It's like 10 minutes away from my house. Why didn't I know about it? So I have come on my lunch break to Forge Mill Needle Museum. Needles. Is it going to be interesting? Is it going to be an absolute snooze fest? I think it's going to be a real hidden gem. So let's go together and discover it. I have not got a clue what to expect, but let's go and have a look. Come on, let's go. The Forge Mill Needle Museum is located in Redditch, Worcestershire. It's a really unique and niche museum that's dedicated to the history of needle making. 90% of the world's needles used to be made in Redditch, and I just could not wait to find out more about it. There used to be over 100 needle factories in this area, and today this museum is a testament to all of them in one place. Steel produced in the Black Country could be brought easily to Redditch, and by 1866 there were nearly 100 million needles produced in this area, and Redditch had a virtual monopoly on needle production. Forge Mill Needle Museum is a Grade 2 listed building, and it was originally one of these factories itself. This mill started life as an iron forge, but by 1730 it had been converted into a needle scouring workshop. In 1828, there was a major rebuild when a barreling shop and stone crushing mill were added. Unfortunately, the water mill that powers this is currently under construction. They're having some work done, so you can't see the wheel in operation. The museum was opened in 1983 after an extensive conservation project by the Queen. So we can say that we have been somewhere that the Queen has visited. So let's go inside and have a look what there is on display. Where you enter the museum, the space is used for exhibitions and is currently an exhibition of textiles. I didn't want to show you too much of that for copyright reasons, but let's go upstairs where I think the really good stuff starts. Upstairs, I found the most mind-blowing archive and collection that I think I've ever seen in a small museum. There is an absolutely vast collection of needles, needle cases, and artifacts related to sewing and needles, and it showcases the evolution of needle production over the centuries. I am an absolute sucker for packaging, so I was in heaven in here seeing all these different packets of needles. It also showed me lots of things that I had just never thought about before. When I think about needle, my mind goes straight away to sewing or maybe having an injection with the doctor. But I didn't realise the different needles that they were producing, everything from fishing hooks, embroidery needles, sewing needles, needles for record players, and even needles for the ends of darts. It really opened my eyes. I mean, you don't think about them, do you? I definitely didn't. And in this space, my mind was just saturated with so many things I'd never thought about before. And for me, the highlight was the packaging. I just adore old packaging on anything, and I think these needle packets really are beautiful. And sometimes in the area there's lots of little facts, like instead of giving small change, a shop would give you a little pack of needles with a pretty packet. How lovely is that? And what a useful thing to have. Probably more useful than a really, really tiny bit of small change. There's also an extensive collection of needles used for medical practice, which I know is not for everybody's taste. And there's an example of a needle that was used to stitch the first ever spaceship. All these things where sewing were involved, and I'd never thought about it. I'm getting quite pumped up talking about it because I thought it really was cool. It really did open my eyes to a subject that I'd never thought about before, and also how such a tiny thing created so much work for people, but also so much convenience, and how the needle did forward us as a society. I was really touched by some of the needlework that had been done by members of staff at the factory and still remains today. And there are also examples of Redditch needles that went all over the world, like these needles that went to Japan to sew kimono. Of course, needles and social history, they can't really be separated. And there's also exhibitions about dressmaking and home sewing. It's just a really lovely experience. Down in the basement of the main building, it shows you how needles were made. Again, something I've just always taken for granted, didn't have a clue. Steel from the Black Country was easily brought to Redditch. And the process was far more complicated than I'd ever thought. A coil of steel wire from the Black Country would make hundreds and thousands of needles. The wire would be reduced in size to the gauge required for the particular needle, and they were heated and rolled to straighten out the curve from the original wire coil. This was strenuous, hot and hard work. It must have been really smelly work down here as well, because the needles were tempered in fish oil. Putting them in fish oil apparently meant that the metal stayed straight. The holes in the needles were punched by hand. They were scoured and they were polished and they were sorted. Really strenuous, difficult work that although some industrial processes were put in place, there was still manpower needed in this process right until the very end. There was also some brilliant information about the people that worked here, because you know that's what I really do love, people's stories. Original cards from holiday dates, and if you're really interested, there's also lots of census information and information about the families that worked here for anybody that wanted to trace their ancestors if you knew that they'd worked in the needle industry. The most dangerous job within the needle industry was called pointing. It was also the most well paid, so many young men were quite happy to do this job. It was, however, really rare to find anybody that did this job who was still alive after they were 30 years old. The pointers worked in a cloud of toxic dust which destroyed their lungs, and most pointers would be coughing up blood within 2 to 3 years. There were also jobs within the factory that could cause blindness, lung diseases, loss of limbs. Like a lot of this Victorian and Edwardian manufacturing, it was just such a dangerous place to work, and every day you took your life into your own hands trying to earn your bread and butter. The museum is really frank about how hard it was to work in the industry. It's not put under any kind of rose-tinted spectacles, and I really appreciated that. I loved looking around the back of the buildings where you could really get an idea of the industrial past. It's inside this original scouring mill where the needles were polished where I really fell in love with this museum though. This is the only one that remains in the world. It smells so good in here. For an industrial revolution lover, this is, the smell in here is like perfume to me. So this is the scouring, wow. This is the scouring mill. not working today, unfortunately. I saw on the website that it's open sometimes. Sorry, just going to luxuriate in the smell of industrial history for a moment. It's such a shame because yet again there is no one here. While I've been here there were 2 ladies upstairs and me. That's it. That makes me sad because you might see Needle Museum and think, oh, why would I want to go and find out about needles? But already it's opened my mind not only to the different types of needles they were, I was just thinking needle and thread, but also the work that went into these tiny little things we take for granted and the people who worked here. That is what I love about these places. And this down here is my favourite part. I love the curated bits and I love seeing all the displays, but what I love is coming into a room like this where I can smell it. It's actually really cool in here, which I think is testament to how hot it would have been when this forge was on. So there's, you know, there would have been heat and noise and grime, and thank you, ancestors. That's what I always think when I come somewhere like this. I love it when museums leave things like this. This is a really old darts board. Now, was it something that the men used to play on their break, or was it here to test the needles? We will never know, but pieces as simple as a dartboard speak to me, because that dartboard has definitely got a story, but we'll just never know what it is. I love places like this, you know, they're so low-key, relaxed. You can just go around at your own pace. There are more people outside, and I'm sat in what looks like a cloister, and there's a reason for that. I didn't even know, but there's the ruins of an abbey here, a medieval abbey that was destructed during the Reformation in the 16th century by Henry VIII. So I'm going to go and have a look at that next, but not until I've had a coffee. Thank you so much, those of you that have bought me one. It was so nice buying that coffee today, just to feel like a real warm hug that someone had treated me. It was a really special feeling, so thank you for that. I'm going to have my coffee and I'm going to go and carry on exploring, and next we'll go and look at the remains of the abbey as a little bonus, because I didn't even know it was here either. Some historian, don't even know what's in my local area, but that's the thing sometimes, isn't it? So yeah, I'm going to enjoy my coffee and then let's go and have a little look at the ruins of this abbey, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. Gosh, it's quite the walk to this abbey. I thought it was just going to be, you know, next door. But no, the ruins are somewhere up this hill. But if you can come here to enjoy it, you're certainly going to get to enjoy the Worcestershire countryside at the same time. So I'm going to keep on walking, and hopefully at some point I'm going to find these ruins. This is looking more promising. I see stones. Yes. I think I've made my way to the right place. This is the ruins of Bordsley Abbey. It was founded in 1138 by Empress Matilda, so it was a royal house. It was established as a Cistercian monastery. This was an order known for its austere lifestyle and commitment to manual labour and self-sufficiency. The abbey is situated here in this valley by the River Arrow, so it provided a strategic location that provided water resources and also the isolation that the monks needed for their monastic life. This is a big complex, much of it is still under the grass, and it included a church, cloisters, chapter house, refectory, hospital, dormitory and various other outbuildings. It really is quite an important archaeological site. I can't quite believe this. It's just me on my own in the ruins of a medieval abbey. It's so peaceful. What a privilege, and I'm so glad that you're with me. Just found these beautiful medieval tiles. I'm not sure the story why they're all mushed up and mosaicked. I wonder if it's because they are tiles that they found on the excavations and they were all in small pieces, so they just decided to put them together. Oh, it's my dream to find something like this in my garden. I'm never going to find it in my garden. Victorian tiles maybe, but not medieval. Got some fleur-de-lis. Oh, we've got some people. Got some legs. Honestly, I'm ashamed of myself that I didn't know this was here. And I was speaking to somebody in the museum and they said nobody knows it's here. So hopefully people like me making these silly little videos can show people that these places exist. So this is Bordsley Abbey. This is free. You can just, if you can manage the walk across the field, you can come in and it's always open. I'm finding these stones as well. And they've all got a different symbol on them, so I wonder if that had any significance. Of course, this is all stuff that I'll look at when I get home before I do my little narration. But it's just marvellous. The abbey was dissolved in 1538 during King Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, and the site fell into ruin. Many of the stones here were actually repurposed for other buildings in the area. This site was excavated in 1969 by the University of Reading, and the project was simply called the Bordesley Abbey project. You can actually go and see some of the excavated items in the visitor centre, which is back at the Needle Museum. But unfortunately, I didn't have time during my little lunch soiree to go back and really explore that, but I definitely will in the future. I think I'm going to end today's video right here. Thank you so much for joining me for what's hopefully another little hidden bit of treasure within the United Kingdom that you may have never heard about before. I certainly haven't, and it's only going to take me 10 minutes to get home. If you visit, let me know in the comments. Let me know any places you want me to explore. There's been a lot going on in my personal life at the moment, which has meant my explorations have been more local, but hopefully, nevertheless, you've enjoyed them. Thank you, as always, for sticking with me, for your comments, for your support. They mean absolutely everything. So until the next time, who knows where we're going? Spoiler alert, I don't know where we're going yet either. We'll think about it over the weekend. Have a lovely week. See you later. Goodbye.